A destitute pregnant woman raised her billionaire husband, but his final payback broke her spirit. A woman sits on a worn-out mattress in a leaking one-room apartment, water dripping from the ceiling into a bucket, her swollen belly aching with hunger and hope. Her name is Rita, and she's not thinking about poverty at this moment. She's thinking about the man sleeping beside her, the man she believed would change the world. Stephen was brilliant, ambitious, and broke. Dead broke. They had nothing but each other, a dream, and a love so raw it felt like the only real thing in a world designed to break them. Rita was 7 months pregnant with their first daughter when they moved into that apartment, and Stephen was working 3 jobs just to keep them fed. Every night, he'd come home exhausted, kiss her belly, and whisper promises to their unborn child. "I'm going to build an empire for you. I'm going to give you everything I never had." Rita believed him. Not because she was naive, but because she could see something in his eyes that the world couldn't see yet. She could see the billionaire hiding inside the desperate man. So she stood by him through every failure, every rejection letter, every night he cried because a business deal fell through. She was pregnant, alone, raising their first daughter Mary while working a part-time job as a cleaner. When Joy was born 2 years later, Rita was still there, still believing, still fighting. The apartment still leaked, the bills still piled up, but Rita never complained. She'd rub Stephen's feet after long days and say, "One day, baby, one day this will all mean something." Her faith in him became his oxygen. Without her belief, Stephen might have quit 1,000 times over. But Rita's love was like a force field protecting his dreams from the cruelty of reality. She had sacrificed everything, her education, her youth, her own dreams of becoming a nurse, all for this man and these 2 little girls. And through years of sleepless nights, holding Mary while Stephen worked, cooking meals from rice and beans, making their daughters' clothes from fabric scraps, Rita proved that real love isn't measured by money or comfort. It's measured by what you're willing to lose for another person's dream. Then something changed. The success came. Slowly at first, then all at once. Stephen's tech startup finally caught the attention of major investors. Within 5 years, he went from barely paying rent to signing contracts worth millions. Rita watched her husband transform from a struggling dreamer into a man who walked into rooms and commanded attention. He bought them out of the apartment. Then came the mansion, a real mansion, with marble floors, a swimming pool, and gates so tall they blocked out the sky. Mary and Joy got their own rooms, real rooms with windows and light and space to breathe. Rita, for the first time in her life, didn't have to work. She could finally rest. She could finally be a mother in the way she'd always dreamed. But wealth does something to people. It whispers lies. It promises that if you're rich enough, beautiful enough, successful enough, you can have anything you want. And that includes trading in the woman who knew you when you were nothing. That's when Jane entered their lives. Jane was exactly the kind of woman a billionaire is supposed to want. Young, glamorous, with a body that made heads turn and a wardrobe that cost more than Rita's entire childhood home. She was a model, a socialite, someone who existed in the glittering world Stephen had just entered. Rita first noticed Jane at one of Stephen's business galas. The way Jane's hand lingered on Stephen's arm. The way she laughed at his jokes. Not genuine laughs, but performative ones designed to make everyone around them jealous. Rita felt something cold in her chest that night. She mentioned it to Stephen when they got home, trying to keep her voice light, trying not to sound like the desperate, frightened woman she was becoming. "That girl was all over you tonight," Rita said, attempting a smile. Stephen laughed it off. "Rita, don't be ridiculous. You're imagining things. Jane is just a business associate. You know you're the only woman I see." But he was lying, and maybe she knew it then. Maybe that was the moment Rita's world began to crack. The affair lasted months before Rita found out. And when she did, it destroyed her in ways she couldn't have anticipated. She found the messages on Stephen's phone. Texts dripping with flirtation, hotel room reservations, intimate photos. There was a voice memo of Jane whispering, "Get rid of her. She's holding you back. You need someone who fits your new life, not some worn-out housewife." Rita's heart didn't just break. It shattered into pieces so small she thought she'd never be whole again. When she confronted Stephen, she was 8 months pregnant with their third child, a pregnancy he'd been distant about, a pregnancy Jane had convinced him he didn't want. "Rita, I don't know who you are anymore," Stephen said coldly, not even denying it. "You're suffocating me. You remind me of poverty. Every time I look at you, I see that leaking apartment. I see failure. I see everything I escaped from. Jane makes me feel alive. She makes me feel like the man I've become, not the man I used to be." Those words were the cruelest thing he could have said, because they meant he'd rewritten their entire history. He'd erased the woman who believed in him when believing in him meant being willing to starve. Jane didn't just make him feel alive. She made him feel ashamed of the woman who had literally carried him on her back. 3 days later, Stephen told Rita to leave. He packed her things, gave her enough money for 2 months' rent and a cheap studio apartment across town, and told her he'd have his lawyers handle custody and divorce. He didn't even look at her face. And Rita, heartbroken and terrified, made the decision that would save her life and destroy his future. She said nothing. She didn't beg. She didn't threaten. She didn't try to fight for him or for their marriage. She took the money. She took their 2 daughters. And she walked out of that mansion like a woman who finally understood that some people aren't meant to be saved. But the pain of losing the baby, the miscarriage, came 3 weeks after she left, triggered by the stress and heartbreak that almost destroyed her completely. She lay in a hospital bed, empty in every way that mattered, while Stephen was somewhere in the city, celebrating his new life with Jane, probably not even thinking about the woman he'd just thrown away. What Rita didn't know was that karma was already in motion. Stephen's affair with Jane wasn't just about passion, it was about manipulation and greed. Jane had been using him the entire time, playing the long game. She got him to sign over assets to her name, convinced him to invest their money in her business ventures that turned out to be elaborate scams, and slowly, methodically, drained him of everything. Within 3 years, Stephen's empire was crumbling. The tech startup he'd built collapsed due to poor decisions he made because Jane had influenced every choice. Investors lost faith. Lawsuits piled up. The mansion was seized. The wealth that had made him feel so invincible, that had made him believe he could discard the woman who built him without consequences, was gone. And when the money dried up, Jane disappeared. She took what was left of his liquid assets and ran off with a wealthy businessman twice Stephen's age. Stephen was left with nothing. Literally nothing. He ended up in a small apartment, not so different from the one he'd shared with Rita years ago, but this time he was completely alone. No one came to comfort him. No one believed in his comeback. No one held his hand through his failures the way Rita had done a lifetime ago. He died alone in that apartment, sick and broken, at 52 years old. The news reached Rita through mutual friends, and she felt something unexpected. Not joy, not satisfaction, but a deep, aching sadness for the man he had become. She mourned not his death, but the death of who he could have been, and she forgave him in her heart, not for him, but for herself. Because holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But this story isn't really about Stephen's downfall. It's about Rita's rise. While he was falling, Rita was building from nothing again. She started with a single job as a cleaning contractor, using the small amount of child support money to fund her dream. She worked 14-hour days while raising Mary and Joy. But this time, she was working for herself. She was building something that couldn't be taken away. She went to night school and got her business certification. She built a cleaning empire, small at first, then growing into a legitimate company that employed over 50 people. Her daughters watched their mother rise from ashes and learned the most valuable lesson life could teach them: that your worth isn't determined by a man, that resilience is a superpower, and that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't about proving something to someone else. It's about proving something to yourself. Mary became a successful accountant. Joy became an architect. They weren't raised with silver spoons, but they were raised with something more valuable. They were raised by a mother who showed them that when life breaks you, you don't break back the same way. You break into something stronger. 10 years after Rita's comeback began, a journalist doing a feature on successful female entrepreneurs discovered her story. From homeless and pregnant to building $1 million business, the headline read. Rita was invited to speak at conferences, to mentor young women, to write a book about her journey. When she was asked in an interview what she'd tell her younger self, that desperate woman in the leaking apartment, she didn't hesitate. I'd tell her that the man she's fighting for will one day reject her, and it will feel like the end of the world. But I'd also tell her that her real empire isn't built on anyone else's name. It's built on her own 2 hands, her own heart, and her own refusal to stay broken. Love is beautiful, but self-love is salvation. Rita's life became a testament to a simple truth. The people you think you can't live without sometimes have to leave for you to discover how strong you actually are. Now, if you felt this story in your soul, if you know someone who needs to hear that their comeback is coming, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more stories about resilience, redemption, and the power of rising above betrayal. Share this with someone who needs to know they're stronger than they think. And in the comments below, tell us, what's the most important lesson you learned from Rita's story? What would you tell someone going through heartbreak right now? Let's build a community of people who lift each other up. Your story matters. Your comeback matters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video for more interesting and captivating stories. See you on the next one.